Hello guys, welcome to another weekly breakdown video. Today I'll be breaking down the third week of July, as you can see, starting from July 22, 2024. So on the weekly, I mark the supply, demand, fair value gaps. You guys know the drill by now. Probably you guys know more than me, right? More than me now, because I have every single video I say the same things, I speak about the same things, right? So on DXY, we can see the bias was clearly bearish. There was a fair value gap here to the upside, and also there was a fair value gap to the downside. So wherever the market goes, there is fair value gaps to fill, so it makes sense to go anywhere in the markets, right? So looking at on the weekly time frame, the most important thing what we do is looking at the previous weekly candle. The previous weekly candle was so bearish. So after seeing a bearish candle like this, at least for my strategy, at least how I understand the market, because that's what matters a lot. What other people think, feel or do about the market doesn't matter to me. What matters to me is what I know about the market, what I can use in my favor, right? So this was what I was thinking, and obviously there was a fair value gap, there was rebalance of price, but the bias was clearly bearish on DXY, which will be bullish on GBP USD, right? That is what we need to know on the weekly time frame. So if I show you quickly the news, on Monday there was Empire State Manufacturing Index, Fed Chair Powell speaks on New York. So on London there was no news. Tuesday there was New York news, no London news. On Wednesday there was London, no New York. On Thursday there was both London and New York, so it was tricky to trade on Thursday. And on Friday there was retail sales London, so it is a very tricky week because we trade London, and on London there is news, right? So that's tricky. But just because it's tricky doesn't mean that we will not trade. If the opportunity is there, if the market is giving me what I want to see, then I will trade the trade, bro. And also the market goes from one liquidity point to another. If we are buying, target the buy side liquidity. If you are selling, we target the sell side liquidity, right? So okay, this is the weekly analysis I'm looking for. Obviously I will look for buys on GU, and according to how this weekly candle closed on Monday my bias is clear. Monday I will look for buys because of how this candle closed, and I can guarantee you for a fact on the daily time frame also the daily bias will be clear. So here we can see on the daily time frame, according to how Friday closed, Wednesday, Thursday and Friday closed as a three white soldiers, a huge amount of demand right here. Demand increased in a lot of abundance right here. As we can see, the price can come in rebalance, but we don't trade that. As you know, I'm looking for buys going on Monday, and which will be sells on DXY, I believe. Yes, I was looking for sells on DXY. There was also a fair value gap. Yes, but obviously I need to see some rejection from this demand zone, which the market is reacting off right now. Right now it's looking like it's not getting respected, but obviously anything can happen in the market. Every moment in the market is unique. So if Monday closed something like a bullish, then obviously we will target that fair value gap. That was what I was thinking when the market opened or wasn't open yet. So that is when I go to the lower time frames like the H4. On the H4 time frame, you can clearly see there was a demand right here. Look, what is happening before, like what happened here doesn't matter, it's irrelevant because the price is trading right here, right? So only focus on the price action where the price is in right at the moment you are trading. So there was a fair value gap here to the upside, but why I didn't mark this fair value gap was the reason was I believe that Asian range would just come and fill up that fair value gap. That's why. So there was a fair value gap here to the downside on the H4. There was a demand zone which was valid due to this break of structure, and obviously if I'm looking for buys, I will mark the demand zones, right? So going to the H1 time frame, on the H1 time frame I marked the previous day's highs and lows, but here you cannot see that because obviously I have deleted it. And yeah, let me quickly show you the trade. Obviously the momentum was so high, right? There is no clear demand zones to trade from. You can argue huge amount of demand happens from here, but also this was a news scandal. So whenever there is news, you cannot mark this whole zone as a demand zone, right? It will be very, very big. So that is the reason I didn't mark this demand zone, and also there was no clear demand zones to trade from. And also the momentum on Friday was so high. Look, Friday was PPI last Friday, so all the market did was went up. You can see here it went up lots. Like how many pips? Let me show you. It went up like 89 pips, which is a huge move for one day. So I waited for Asian range to close. After the Asian range closed, you can see the market open gap down. If I show you the Euro USD, there was a huge gap here for the market to fill. So we also have to keep that in mind. And on DXY, we can clearly see there was also a gap to the downside, right? So on DXY, I will not show you the analysis because it will be a very huge video. So obviously I trade my time zone, which is 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. UK time, and I will only enter the trades from 8 a.m. sorry 7 a.m. If the market is clean enough, I can trade 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. UK time. I have to decide if I want to trade 7 a.m. from 7 a.m. or from 8 a.m. I will do that after backtesting and after some more experience, like what I have done with other things like trading Mondays or not. I figured it out, right? I told I will figure it out. I figured it out by persistence. So I'm gonna even figure that out, which time zones I'm gonna trade. New York and London, I only trade those sessions because it doesn't make sense to trade other sessions because it's GBP USD, bro. London and New York, right? So obviously I was looking for buys, and there was no sort of demand zone. And also we know one thing: whenever there is no clear demand zone, that is when we tend to get continuation model, right? Let me show you on the M15. If I open this weekly breakdown, here we can see our session opened here, which was London, and the bias was clear being bullish. So if we took, we would have been it would have been a winner, but obviously it was not the setup we look for. On Euro there was a gap to fill, which made the trade even more stronger. So also we know if Euro had a clear zone on this day, we would have traded Euro. And now if I show you the trade quickly, and also one more call out, I am genuinely starting to understand the liquidity. Yes, bro. If London session makes a move, let me quickly show you. This was when my time started, 7 a.m. UK time. 7 a.m. UK time, what did it do? It went down, literally went down, gave a fake move. There was always a chance that the Asian low will get swept. I've also journaled this trade if you want to see this trade. There was always a chance that the market can go and fill up, can take this Asian low, right? But after a huge down move like that, London session, our session started here 12:30 8 a.m. UK time, and then boom, literally there was so much of buying pressure. And seeing this buying pressure is when I entered the trade, bro. And literally everything, if you only enter the trade in the key time windows, your probability of winning the trade so much higher, and the odds are in your favor. 100% true. There is 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. UK time, and 4:30 p.m. is pre-New York session, so which we don't trade, and we trade from 6 p.m. which is New York session, right? New York session also has a lot of volume, even more volume than London. So our strategy is based on London session, to be honest, but also we can trade New York session if London session hasn't given a move, right? So that's it. That makes our odd even, that make our probability even higher to win in the markets. And there were no clear demand zones. Also the momentum in the higher time frame was very high, so it made sense to trade the closest zones. If there is no zones, a continuation model would make sense, and also the Asian low sweep will make sense, because we know if the momentum is very high, we can trade those things, right? So all of these call outs make sense. I hope it makes sense to you, and let me quickly show you why I've written this. I've genuinely started to understand liquidity. If I enter the market here, which I would, which is our session, market went down, and also after knowing all of the knowledge that there's no clear zones to trade from, the momentum is very high, so I traded a continuation model after seeing this rejection on the M15. Boom, literally went up, gave us our 1:3, we are out, right? We bounce, we pass our first phase challenge, we pass here, bro. It's easy to pass from challenges. It's not hard, just you have to risk a certain amount, certain percentage, and you will see the results. And here you can see I've written here 4 p.m. Indian Standard Time, pre-New York session starts, right? Pre-New York session gave a fake move. What pre-New York session tends to do is give a fake move, and after that New York session goes induce the position. Inducement means like it manipulates the orders, as you can see right here, and it mitigated the M15 demand zone which was made on New York session. Most of the times what does it do is goes down, sweeps the buyers from London session, but in this case there was a beautiful demand zone and there was already inducement, right? If this inducement was not there, like pre-New York inducement was not there, then I would have not taken this trade. I would wait for the London to get manipulated. But in this case, the pre-New York session got inducement, and also we had enough liquidity to sweep, to make a move, so we took the trade. And why did I target this high right here? Obviously, I'm genuinely starting to understand the liquidity, because it is so clear. If the market is going up, where will it target? It will target the next buy side liquidity, right? So this was the buy side liquidity, so I targeted this trade and literally caught a 1:3 again. So if you missed the London move, you could have also taken the New York move, and also this happened exactly at our time windows. As you can see, whenever the session is the most higher, whenever you are trading in your time window, you are making your probability of success more, right? You are literally making your chances of winning, probabilities of winning higher. That's what you want to do as a trader. That's what you can do as a trader. You cannot win everything. You cannot, all you can do is put the probabilities, put the odds in your favor, and then take the trade without any reservation or hesitation. That's it. So go after how this Monday candle closed, as you can see right here. So going on Tuesday, I'm looking for sales, because according to how that candle closed right there. So let me quickly do that, because the daily is not working. So yeah, mate. So going on Tuesday, I'm looking for sales, because obviously I trade the daily bias, but it's not one of the strongest. I'm telling you again, because after a huge bullish pressure like this, a bearish candle like this, it doesn't resonate with me. To be honest, I would have not traded Tuesday, because this candle closure is not enough for me, because it's not looking like it's a bearish candle, if it makes sense. And also after a huge bearish pressure like this in DXY, the contrary will be true, right? So on Monday it gave a small bullish candle, showing that bulls are there, but they are not that strong, right? So that's why on Tuesday it was very, very tricky to trade for sells. But if I was looking for something, it would be sells. And if I quickly show you the news, on Tuesday there was USD retail sales, USD retail sales. And on Monday also there was New York news, but it was not one of the highest probabilities, Empire State Manufacturing. That's why we took the trade. Whenever the news is something like this, Empire State Manufacturing or new home sales, those are not high impact news like CPIs, right? So I traded. On Tuesday there was core retail sales, so obviously London I would have probably looked for any opportunities. So going on the H1 time frame, I'm looking for sales. And also there was change of character, don't get me wrong. On Monday we did got the change of character because of this low high, higher low, higher high. This was the last high, caused this lower low right here, change of character. So market structure shift, bias has changed. So this was a valid order block to trade from. I was looking for sales, and it was also a continuation model, I believe. Let me quickly show you what I've done. I was looking for a continuation model, because this is our timing, right? If we want to enter a trade, this is our time window to trade. I am looking at the market at this time, so it was a continuation model. So what did the price do? I didn't took the trade here. Why? I didn't enter the trade here, because it was my time. It was not exactly my time, but the fair value gap didn't got filled, as you can see. If I want to take a continuation model, I need to get the fair value gap filled and then reject. But in this case it didn't happen, so I didn't took the trade. And then what did the price do? Price went up, induced, took the Asian high, gave us our setup, and gave a reaction from this sort of M15 supply right here. But I didn't took the trade because it was not clean. If I didn't like the trade, I don't take it, right? So probably this day the sales did happen, as you can see. The market did went down, but it was after the news. If I show you the weekly callouts, the bias did play out, which was bearish after the New York news, but it was very low probability to trade, so I didn't took the trade. New York news came in, manipulated all of these highs right here, as you can see, right? The market went down, came up again, went down again. So there is huge amount of sellers right here, right? So what did the price do? What did the news do? Gave a fake move to the upside before the news, and then literally manipulated all of the highs. And after gaining enough liquidity, the news came in and gave a huge move to the downside. So I've written exactly what I've told right here. It's a pattern used by big banks to manipulate orders to fuel a huge move, right? Something like this. Obviously the price needs liquidity to make a move, so obviously it will go and manipulate the market to gain liquidity. That's it. Now according to how this Tuesday's candle closed, let's see if what my bias is on Wednesday. Okay, so now we can clearly see my bias changes so quick, right? On Tuesday I was looking for sales, not one of the highest probabilities, so I didn't took the trade. So on Tuesday I was anticipating to fill up this fair value gap, and yeah, the bias was not clear, so I didn't do the trade. So now according to how this Tuesday candle closed, now it is aligned with the weekly bias being bullish, and I'm looking for buys. On Wednesday, let me check the news. It was CPI day, so also there was one variable right there, but obviously I trade CPIs, meaning if I can enter a trade before the news and break even the trade, I will take it. So the dollar was looking so clear. It is aligned with the weekly bias being bearish, and also if I draw the Fibonacci retracement, the retracement didn't happen to the 50% level, so it was not a Fibonacci trade. But I don't trade the Fibonacci, I trade the market structure, I trade the behavior. I am a behavior trader. So going on Wednesday, I was looking for buys. Obviously on the 4-hour rate, the market was still bullish from this low and this high, so anything that happens here is still bullish for me. The price went up, swept this liquidity on Monday, as you can see, and then made a move to the downside because price sweeps liquidity. All we gotta do is train our eyes to see where the liquidity is and where it can go to take this liquidity. That's it. If you can train your eyes to see liquidity, to spot liquidity in the markets, that is when you will become a profitable trader. So going on Wednesday, I was looking for buys, and obviously if I show you, it was a continuation model again. Oh, it was not a continuation model. The Asian low just got swept, and then boom, there was no clear demand zones. If I show you the weekly breakdown again, yeah, I have to go to the M15, I believe. So on Wednesday, the previous day low was already swept on DXY, whereas on GU the previous day high wasn't swept. The previous day high was somewhere around here, somewhere around here, right here. On DXY the previous day low was swept, so it was SMT. Okay, so let me quickly show you. So the previous day high was right around here. Previous day low was, okay, so previous day low was already swept on DXY. If I show you quickly, right around here, sorry for the here, right? But GU didn't sweep the previous day high. That gave us so much more confidence to take the trade towards the upside. And also there was news, so if we can take a trade and break even the trade before news, then it will be so much profitable. Meaning my session started somewhere around here, right after this bullish candle. If I entered, this was 11:30 candle. That's why you wanna be on the charts from 11:30, right? Here you could have put your stop loss here and then targeted a 1:6 victory reward and break even the trade before the news kick in. There was CPI on 11:30, so okay, so it was very, very tricky because news was exactly at our timing. So this would be a no trade day for me. But if you did it, if you would have taken it and used that concept like CPIs, just like I said before the news, if you can enter and previous day highs and lows, use SMT in your favor, then you could have won this trade, right? So what did the price do after giving a huge move like this? What did New York session do? What does the New York session tends to do most of the times is London. If London is trended one side, New York tends to sweep the London highs or lows, whichever is closest, and then make the move to the opposite side of London, because the market needs to be balanced, right? So there are so much of fair value gaps. There will be guys which will have their strategy based on the fair value gaps to fill up these fair value gaps right here, right? So those guys will be trading here to fill up those fair value gaps, and we can also trade that, but that's not our strategy, so I don't trade that. Simple as that. There is so much strategies in this world, but obviously what works for you, you gotta use that. So going on Thursday now, my bias is not that clear. As you can see on GU, it's clearly bullish but also bearish, because this supply zone that I've marked right here on the daily, which made a huge move to the downside, is getting respected a wick to the upside. And if I confirm my bias, also DXY is so bearish. So obviously DXY is so bearish and GU is also kind of bullish, kind of bearish. Indecision. And Euro USD, that is when I go to Euro USD. Euro USD was so bullish, so I was looking for buys. If I was looking for something, it would be buys on GBP USD. If I go to the H4 time frame, and if I show you the news first, on Thursday there was a lot of news, so it was very, very tricky to trade. Anyways, so on the H4 there was a fair value gap, as you can see right there. And if I'm looking for buys, I will look for some sort of demand zone. So this was the demand zone I was looking to trade from. Wednesday I didn't took the trade, so this was the demand zone for Thursday. So I waited for the Asian range to close. The Asian range closed something like that. So to be honest, this trade, I believe that it would be a good trade on Euro, but on GU this day was not clear. So also at my timing, which is London excuse me, this is when I start to look for trades, 11:30 AM Indian Standard Time. So the market literally, it was a Fibonacci retracement OTE level entry, I believe I took this trade. Oh, I didn't took this trade. Okay, so I was looking for buys from this sort of demand zone right around here, this H1 demand, right? So this was a New York session trade, I believe. Look, London session we didn't got the trade, literally went down, right? So what we can do, we can still trade the New York session. London session literally went down, so much of liquidity has been swept, so it is so much more probable, or so much high probability, that New York session will make the move, because London session has swept so much liquidity. What New York session tend to do here, 7:45, which is late New York session, what it tend to do, I took a buy right here, and it was a break-even trade, as you can see, 1:1.7. I break even the trade at that point, and I managed the trade. Just because I managed, I don't set and forget. I won this trade. I have nothing against FXLXG, but obviously we trade different strategies, so obviously I have to go with my strategy, right, which makes me money. So this was clearly a break-even trade on Thursday, and in this case anything can happen in the market, as proved again. Look, GBP USD was kind of rejecting, but DXY was bullish, clearly bearish, and Euro was clearly bullish. But in this case, the bears literally came in the market and took all the pressure, right? So going on Friday, now my bias is not aligning with the weekly bias, but if I'm looking for something, it would be sells on GBP USD and buys on DXY. So yes, I was looking for sells on GBP USD because the bias was so clear. On the H4 we got the market structure shift, and on the H1 I believe also we got the market structure shift, if you can see. On the H1 time frame, I believe I took a trade. Okay, so it was a continuation setup. I will show you exactly why I took it. I waited for the Asian range to close. Whatever happens here, I don't care. There was no clear supply zone. There was a supply zone here, but according to how this Asian range closed, I have to adapt to the supply zones. And as you can see, the market Asian range closed here. So going up, making a 40 pip move to the upside and then making a move to the downside didn't make sense to me. So that is why I was looking for continuation setup, and also the momentum was very high going to the last week. And here you can see 11:30 our time, and also it was retail sells GBP, so it was also very low probability to trade. News literally went to the downside, price came up, swap liquidity from this supply, which I have written here. Let me quickly show you. Again, a continuation model. There was GBP news on Friday. It was swap liquidity from the supply made on pre-London, which is 11:30, and they made the move with the bias. If I took this trade, I would have won. It would be a M5 OTE level entry. As you can see, price went down. I draw the Fibonacci retracement. I either take the entry here, here, or here, right? Price went down. 11:30 made the move. News made the move to the downside, went up, swap liquidity from the news, and then gave us a Fibonacci entry right here. And we caught our 1:3, beautiful 1:3. So Friday would have been a winner if I took the trade. If you only trade with the bias, with the daily bias, and take trades, take high probability trades, continuation setups, anything, the probabilities of you winning is so high in these markets, bro. Yes, bro. If you follow your plan, if you know what you're doing, it's not hard, it's easy. So it has become a very long video, but no problem. As we can see now, my weekly candle has closed something like a bearish, and also on this week we can clearly see the trend was bullish. It changed from bullish to bearish. These are the weeks where it's very tricky to trade, but now the next week will be so clear to trade because my bias is so clear. Weekly fair value gap to fill, right? So whenever the trend is changing from bullish to bearish or bearish to bullish, that is when it's tricky to trade, but it doesn't mean that you will not trade. You still will learn from the trading week like we did in this week. So yeah, that was the weekly breakdown. Hope you guys took something out of that video, and yeah, keep grinding, keep hustling. Soon you're gonna break through.